All right, let's dive right into the powerful opening of Surah Al-Baqarah, the longest chapter in the Quran. You know, these first few verses, they really set the stage for everything that follows, and they kick things off with a profound mystery. Let's get into it.
So here's our roadmap. We're going to start with these super enigmatic letters that open the chapter and see how they lead to the Quran's bold claim of absolute certainty. Then we'll ask, okay, who can actually benefit from this guidance? And that question leads us to how these verses categorize all of humanity into three very distinct groups, with a special and pretty intense focus on the one considered most dangerous.
So the chapter doesn't begin with some grand statement or a story. No, it begins with a puzzle, a set of letters that has fascinated scholars for centuries.
Alif, Lam, Mim. Now, that's not a word. These are the individual names of the letters themselves. Can you just imagine the audacity of this? In 7th century Arabia, this message is delivered through a prophet known to be unlettered, to a society that prided itself on being the absolute masters of language. It's a challenge from the very first sound.
This unique Quranic feature, it has a name, al-huruf al-muqatta'at, which translates to the disjointed or separate letters. They serve as this powerful, immediate reminder that the source of this text is divine. It's like God is saying, here are the very building blocks of your language. Now watch what I can do with them.
And what's really fascinating is that there's a hidden mathematical structure here. If you look at all these unique letter openings across the entire Quran, you'll find that 14 unique letters are used, exactly half of the 28 letters in the Arabic alphabet. This rule of halves suggests a deliberate, intricate design woven right into the fabric of the text itself.
And this, right here, gets to the core of the miracle. The prophet, who couldn't read or write, was conveying the names of the letters, Alif, Lam, Mim. That's a level of linguistic abstraction that would have just baffled the poets of his time. They knew how to make words, sure, but here the letters themselves were the message.
And check this out. These same three letters, written the exact same way, can also be read as the word elam, which means have you not. But here in this specific spot, they are recited Alif, Lam, Mim. The same script, but a completely different recitation and a totally different meaning. It's such a subtle but profound sign that this is divine instruction, not just human writing. And right after this initial mystery of the letters, the tone shifts immediately to a declaration of absolute, unshakable certainty.
The very next verse makes one of the most powerful claims you'll find in any scripture. That is the book in which there is no doubt. It's not a suggestion, not a philosophy to be debated. It presents itself as a statement of fact, a perfect and flawless source of guidance.
You know, even the way this verse is recited can deepen its meaning. Where you place a tiny pause can change the emphasis. But the stronger intended meaning connects it all seamlessly. That is the book in which there is no doubt. This implies that the entire text, from cover to cover, is free from doubt and is in its entirety a source of guidance.
Okay, so if the book is guidance, the next logical question is, guidance for whom? And the verse immediately answers that. It's for al-muttaqin, the God-fearing. But you know, God-fearing doesn't quite capture the full meaning. The Arabic term is muttaqin, and it describes someone who has taqwa. And taqwa isn't about being scared. It's a state of constant God consciousness. Think of it like a spiritual shield, or an inner compass that makes you mindful of every action, protecting you from going off course.
And this state of taqwa, it's not just some vague feeling, right? It's defined by a set of very clear, concrete actions and beliefs. The God-fearing believe in what they can't see. They don't just perform prayer, they establish it as a pillar in their lives. They give generously from what God has given them, they accept all divine revelation, and they have an unshakable certainty about the life to come. Okay, so after laying out the guide and who the guide is for, the Quran then does something really fascinating. It categorizes all of humanity based on how people respond to this very call.
So these opening verses dedicate space to three distinct groups. The believers, they get a few verses. The disbelievers, they get just 2. But the hypocrites, look at that. They get the largest portion by far. And that tells us something huge right from the start. From the Quran's perspective, the hidden enemy within is considered the most significant danger of all.
First up, the believers. Their description is pretty straightforward because, well, we've just met them, haven't we? They are the muttaqin, the ones who have all those qualities we just talked about, ready to embrace the guidance. They're the ideal response.
Second, you've got the disbelievers. Their position is also crystal clear. They openly reject the message. You know exactly where they stand. They're a declared opponent, and there's a certain, well, clarity in that. And then we get to the third group, the hypocrites. This is where things get really complex and, as the text strongly suggests, really dangerous. They're the ones who say they believe on the outside, but are hiding disbelief on the inside, acting like a corrosive force from within the community.
So why? Why does the Quran dedicate so much attention to this one group? It's because it's not just about lying. The Quran lays out a very specific and dangerous psychology of hypocrisy.
And this is absolutely crucial. Hypocrisy is described here as a deep-seated spiritual disease. The hypocrites lie to others, but the Quran says ultimately they're only fooling themselves. They project their own flaws onto sincere believers, calling them foolish. They claim to be reformers while actually causing corruption. It's a state of profound self-deception. This verse right here is incredibly revealing. After they finish pretending to be believers, they have to go back to their own inner circle and reassure them, saying, "Hey, don't worry, we're really with you, we were just making fun of them." Think about that. Their act is so convincing, they're afraid even their own allies might have been fooled.
And that leaves us with a final thought to really reflect on. When your deception is so complete that you have to clarify your true allegiance even to your own co-conspirators, what does that reveal about the depth and the loneliness of that self-deception? It points to this profound emptiness, a state where you're truly loyal to nothing and ultimately fooling no one more than yourself.